Hello, we are live, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Hello.
Kevin Gardner is here and made it to class on time.
Wow, thanks, Kevin.
Right on.
Thankfully, Principal Strickland didn't find you walking around with Jennifer. Anybody get that reference? No? Back to the Future?
Zing.
Yeah. Nobody. Crickets. Where's my sound pad? No, so we're here. This is going to be a special occasion here. We're live with Collin from Aperion Audio.
Hello.
You guys are based out of Oregon, right? Like you're in
Wilsonville, Oregon.
There we go. There
Right
we go.
off I-5.
Oh, heck yeah. So if anybody is in that area, you guys got a showroom that they could stop by and demo some stuff?
Whole Dolby Atmos system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Way too many speakers.
Wait. I've seen pictures and it's like really I want to I could live in there for a few days. Just
It's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Sure. Yeah.
And you wouldn't even notice, right? Like you'd be like, has anybody seen Brad?
Yeah, it's sweet. It's like, we got a switcher for just the front and the side channels. So it's like we can A/B between speaker lines, really effortlessly, right? And so you listen to a speaker, go and unplug it, plug in another one, like you kind of lose it, right? It's kind of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, comparing, especially in like a showroom or something, is always difficult. But if you have it so it's like you're like A and Bing quickly, and you don't give your ears time to go, I forgot what that sounded like, then even better.
Even better. Totally.
So Joel is here. Welcome, Joel. Thanks for stopping by.
Joel.
Elon, how the heck are you, man? It's been a week.
I'm here.
You're here.
I'm in the room. We are streaming. Things are good.
Anything new and exciting in your neck of the woods?
I'm still pushing short form content with acoustics on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, if you're within earshot, please follow me on Instagram. I'm really trying some experimental stuff, seeing what sticks, seeing what doesn't. Today, in fact, I did probably the most ambitious one that I've done in a long time. Tried to get real creative. Took me all day yesterday, plus the previous day planning it all out.
Whoa.
But, a minute, 24 seconds worth, I worked all day on it. So that tells you how much effort I had to put into it just to make it how I wanted it. But yeah, I'm having fun. It's the growth is not happening as quickly as I had hoped, but it takes a while. It honestly takes a while for Instagram's algorithm or whatever you want to call it to notice that I'm there doing reels at least once a day. So it just takes time.
It takes time.
I'm enjoying the process right now, and it's fun.
You saying how long you spent on something and then you got like a minute and something out of it reminds me of that part in Parks and Recreation with Ben Wyatt where he's like, "You want to see my claymation?" and he shows him that clip and it's literally like 5 seconds and he's like, "It's 2 weeks on that." That's totally what a lot of the video side of stuff is like, guys. It's I mean, tutorials especially. Oh my goodness, tutorials take me a while. I have to practice and practice and practice, and it's normally me doing things about 4 or 5 times before I hit record, and when I finally do, something else happens that I didn't expect, and so fun stuff. But yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I this past weekend I got some stuff from Aperion. Their premium speaker stands, which were very, very nice, by the way. Very nice. Very fingerprint prone, but
black. I'm pretty sure there's polish cloth in the package, isn't there?
There is.
There the speakers.
There is. Yeah. I mean, I think I used the speaker one on because I'm like, let me just open up all of these cloths. Like, whenever I send the stuff back to you, I'm just gonna be like, I kept them all. Sorry.
Keep them. That's fine.
Keep them. I use them as like but no, I set those up. I set the Theatris T65s up for my front sound stage, and man, those things are a beast, guys. Yeah, we're not. like this is going to be a very Aperion centric live stream. However, we're also just going to be talking about like whatever we want. Going to be kind of loosey goosey, as the saying goes. But I want to mention, if you guys have a question for any of us, Collin included, could even be about Aperion products that you're interested in, put a Q in front of it and ask away. We'll do our best to answer it throughout this live stream, as long as Collin is here. If you ask about a product and Collin has to step away, Elon and I will not answer it. So I have no idea what the TDP or the total harmonic TDP. Wow, I've been researching computer parts today. Can you guys tell?
They're combining and merging.
Combining, yes. In my brain, it's just suddenly it's like a computer and a speaker together in one. But yeah, put a Q there. We'll answer it. And as always, not required, but if you do feel like throwing us a super chat or super sticker words, then we greatly appreciate it. But we just appreciate you guys being here. So we're gonna hang out and have a good time. So Collin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do for Aperion? How'd you get with Aperion? And yeah, kind of your background, because I think if anybody eagle-eyed viewers out there looked at the description that Elon wrote, we have another drummer in our midst in Collin. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Or damn drummers, you just can't get rid of them.
I know.
Just, God, they're everywhere.
They are.
I'm stoked to be here, guys. Really stoked to be here. You know, my name's Collin. I'm the general manager for Aperion Audio. I started with the company in 2019 as sales and customer service. Actually, my previous colleague, Dallas, he got me the gig here. Both of us worked at Guitar Center in Beaverton, Oregon, actually. And yeah, at Guitar Center, I ran the drum room, and Dallas would come in every day and I would show him whatever new stuff came in. We were like a destination drum shop. So I had like super expensive kits and like just so many cymbals, just ridiculous. I mean, it was a playground, you know. I went from one playground to another playground, basically. Like drum room to speaker room, right? And so yeah, I've been a musician for a long time. My fun fact for a lot of people is I was a tuba player for 13 years. Actually paid for school with scholarships and that sort of thing. And
oh wow,
after college, I knew long before I got out of college that I would never afford a nice tuba. So you know, drums was kind of more for fun, you know, and I played in bands and all that sort of thing too. And yeah, I mean, music is my life, quite literally, you know, whether it's selling music, you know, playing music, you know, selling systems, like, you know, any part of it. That's a really, really big thing for me. And yeah, you know, rocking here at Aperion Audio. It's a great gig, great company. I've got really cool products, as you guys know. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, you know, I think for those that don't know, I think Dallas actually reached out to me a little over a couple years ago now, just before my wife and I bought this house. I think we had just bought it. We were like in the process of moving, and I was like, hey, I really can't take anything right now. Like, you know, I think you guys were wanting to send some speakers, and I'm like,
yeah.
I think it's going to be kind of, I don't want to be like responsible for like potentially breaking something during a move. But you guys were actually like, hey, we have the Alairs, the Bluetooth Alairs, and like we could send you that in a sub. And I was like, you know what? I think that should work. And those Alairs got us through the move. Like we used them a lot because we could just set them up anywhere, and they're super small. I use a sub sometimes I didn't. Just depends, you know, where, like what we were doing. But it was like we were able to fill a room with music and just like move stuff around.
It's like an essential for moving is you have like some sort of stereo.
Yes. Oh my God. Moving just sucks.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Moving just sucks. So you have to try to bring in positive vibes, or if you're just really feeling in a mood, you could just, you know, listen to some metal or something.
Yeah.
You know, just
when we bought our house, I had a set of Alairs that I drug in, like, I think one of the first or second things into the house. Right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Seriously, dude, like we gotta have music, you know?
Yeah, when you're unpacking and everything, of course.
Yeah.
Not
like, you can use earbuds. No.
or anything like that, not at all.
No. But yeah, I think, when we talked, my kind of point there was like when we first talked, we started talking about music and stuff. And I think at that time you'd mentioned that you both had worked at Guitar Center and that I was a drummer and like hadn't played in a while, but like kind of once a drummer, always a drummer, right? And we talked about like
drummer, always a drummer, that's for sure.
Yeah, some of our favorite like influences and stuff. So we kind of connected over that. And then I think at one point you wanted to you like offered to send me like one of the Aperion guitars, because if you guys don't know, they actually have an acoustic guitar, right? You guys have an acoustic guitar that you can buy on your website.
Yeah, we did a small run with our brand on it and everything, and so it's not a Martin D12 or anything like that, but it's a decent little acoustic guitar, and perfect addition to your 2-channel stereo or something like that, right?
I mean, if you want to noodle around while listening to some Kenny Loggins or Tom Petty or
Peter too. I mean, take it with you camping or something like that.
Yeah.
We've got all the accessories and all that good stuff. It's a cool thing.
Yeah, it's awesome that like to connect with someone in a company that has the same kind of love for music. I think we even have like a lot of the same interests, like we talked about before, in terms of like bands that we listen to and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then like when you're listening to a pair of speakers, is this pair of speakers doing this band justice? Like I've heard this song countless times, right? And obviously like Elin and I were big in home theater, but I have started listening to 2-channel music more and more.
Yeah.
And so like having like basically whenever you get a speaker that kind of removes a veil from the song you're listening to or the band you're listening to, you're like, wow, I've never actually heard it this pristine before.
Right.
And this is like, I've had this disc for, countless years. I've never heard it sound like this.
Yeah.
Then, like, okay, there's something to this speaker that like, it's doing something that my other speakers aren't. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of ties into like the Theatris, and the Theatris speakers are, on your website, you mentioned like they can be used for like mixing studios, home theaters, obviously, production studios. But I think, do you know of any artists or like any like music studios that will actually mix on these speakers? Because I'm measuring them and listening to them, that I think they are very, very capable in doing that.
I mean, I think, we leave them open for, kind of any possibility, right? Or any particular scenario. And I think, the thing with music studios is, an engineer is using a set of speakers like a tool, right? I mean, that's what they're using to create the mixes and all that sort of thing. And so, at least in my experience, most of the time they'll find a set of speakers and hold on to those for dear life, as a reference, right?
Right.
And so I think, getting into that studio market is a little trickier because not only, is it a subjective thing as far as what sounds good, but also something that needs to be, accurate. And like I said, used as more of a work tool than like an enjoyment device, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, with the Theatris design and how it performs, you could definitely do some really good mixes with that, I believe. I think the market is definitely more for, active speakers and that sort of thing, at least with studios. But more and more too, you're seeing Dolby Atmos, studios and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think we got a shot at that. Maybe that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. And I mean, there's like a ton of different, you offer a ton of different, speakers in that Theatris family, right? It's not just like these big honking guys. Like you guys just came out with like the T107s, which like you have to like move like 4 people or something because they're so
there's
massive.
4 handles.
Yeah, here I'll
PA
add this here so you can kind of see.
Yeah.
This guy here. What's the like? I know I could see it here, but like the weight on this guy, 178 pounds.
Yeah,
that's a big boy.
Jesus is
But
all I
that's
have to say.
10-inch drivers, you know, that's
Yeah.
that's a lot of bass coming out of that sucker. And, you know, I think the coolest thing with that speaker, especially for center channel use, is being able to tri-amp, right? So 3 separate channels, low, mids, and highs. Just endless possibilities. I mean, you'd need a pretty good sized room for something like that, obviously. But
Yeah. You know, I'm not going to be putting this in my little 11 by 12. Just totally ruin this whole.
we'll turn you into the Maxell commercial, right?
Yeah.
Is it possible to blow a window out with a speaker? We're going to find out in this video. You know, yeah.
If you build it, they will come.
They will come. But yeah, I mean,
it's a wicked beast.
Right. I mean, dude, it's awesome. And then you have the T87. Is that relatively new? Because I know that you guys had like the T80s and the T65 for a while.
Yeah. The 87 and the 107 are both new additions.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, kind of, you know, both tri-ampable, you know, quad woofers, larger larger ribbon tweeter. And then, getting into the other ones, you have your ported and sealed slim cabinets, and then in-wall versions as well. So, you know, depending on the construction, depending on the room design, you know, and honestly how you want your room to come out,
right?
There's lots of different options, you know, for what you want to make.
And even these cute little guys here.
Those things, I almost like those the best. I mean, honestly, they're such cool speakers, especially for like near field, right?
Yeah.
5s and these. Really neat for near field. In fact, one of our warehouse guys, Chris, he runs his own studio in the Portland area, and he's used some of these with different mixes and that sort of thing. He really likes the Theatris tweeter, especially, you know, very accurate, very bright. But yeah, it's a wicked little set, and you know, those things make killer surrounds too. You know, one of the things I run into quite often is, you know, somebody planning out their theater system and their couch is smashed all the way against the back wall, right? Like, we've all probably had that situation one time or another. And so, you know, with these angled cabinets, you can kind of put them a little above the couch and still get that, you know, good imaging down. So yeah, it's, you know, we like options, we like versatility, you know. We don't really like to set everything in one specific mold, right?
Right. Yeah, I you know, we had talked about because Elon and I had talked about the Theatris, because Elon made a couple videos on them, right? Like you were talking about them, and I think I'm not gonna. I mean, you can kind of talk if you wouldn't mind, Elon, talking a little bit about them, because I don't want this whole stream to just be me gushing over them. Because they're freaking awesome.
Yeah, Elon, talk about them.
Talk about them now. Right now.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it is fresh in your mind though, since you just hooked it up.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had never dealt with like cinema grade speakers before, especially that large. I mean, even the T65 is, you know,
pretty good size speaker.
Large speaker.
It's a chunky boy.
Very
chunky
deep.
Boy.
But I do appreciate the fact that there are slim versions as well, especially for those with, you know, constraints with how big their theater can be, or, you know, maybe the side of their couch is like right here, and then the wall is like right just a couple feet away. But yeah, I currently I have the Veris speakers as all of my ear level speakers. So I've got a very incredibly versatile home theater right now, being able to play, you know, movies very well. But also, if I want to switch over to 2-channel, I've got the big Veris towers, the VATs, the concert towers, and you know, like you were saying, hearing music in a way that you've never heard before. When I reviewed the VAT towers with the Peachtree amp, I mean, I remember commenting that Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls was like I'd never heard it before. Because I mean, I'd heard it playing on stereos in the 90s, playing on the radio countless times.
Yeah.
But never had I heard it like that, with hearing every little detail of every little instrument in the arrangement. So yeah, it makes a big difference. But I mean, that being said, I adore the Varus line. But when I had the T65s as my front soundstage, and then a couple of T65 Slims as my surrounds, I mean, that's the best my theater has sounded since. I have yet to replicate that, since I put the Varus speakers back in. Again, the Varus are awesome, but when it comes to just like, I mean, they're called Theatris for a reason. And it was as if it was, the theater in this little room.
Sure.
As opposed to just speakers playing sounds, Right. Like it was a theater experience, which was freaking cool. So I mean, and also being run by the energy amps.
Yeah.
So that's still the best that I've ever heard my theater is having Theatris run by energy amps. I mean, the combination was, I mean, maybe I could do better if I spent like a lot more money.
Yeah.
But for what it's worth, I mean, like, yeah, it was amazing to hear the theater in that room for the first time ever.
It's kind of neat too when you have, the exact same design all the way around. It's not like the center channel with, its own characteristics, towers with their own characteristics, books with their own characteristics. I mean, I like that sound, but also, like you say, listening to the same Theatris all the way around, I mean, it just does a different thing. It's a different level of reality, I guess. I don't know.
There's like a cohesion to all of it that like really, like right now, I have the Theatris, the T65, just the 3 in the front soundstage. And what I texted Elon after I hooked them up, and I was like, holy shit, dude, like my front soundstage is massive. Like I didn't realize, like, because the way I have them set up was similar to how I think you have them set up in the showroom, Collin, where like the tweeters on the left and right are on the outside of the speaker, right? And then I turn the sender channel like horizontal, so the tweeters on top, the mid range and the tweeters on top, and got it as close to the TV as I could.
Right.
But yeah, having that, like, just I only have 2 seats in my theater, so the center, like the center of the room, neither me nor my wife sit in.
Mm-hmm.
So like having kind of a like the bigger soundstage with the AMT tweeters that have like a bigger, like the wider dispersion than like a traditional tweeter, it opens everything up. And a phantom center is sounds much better, or I want to say much better, but like I get more of a phantom center effect when listening to 2-channel music than I did with my other speakers because of like the wideness of the dispersion. And to me, like that was like kind of like what was night and day between my other speakers, and it was like, obviously these speakers are like, I don't know, they're like, I think the T65s are like $1,200 each, and my Pioneers were like $180 for the pair. So not a fair comparison, right? Massive difference. But the thing is, I've heard speakers that are even more expensive than that, that haven't had this level of like articulation and like clarity. Yeah. And that I think really surprised me. Can you? And I don't know if you could talk a little bit about like the like kind of like what was like the decision to come in at a price point that's like extremely competitive, right? Like obviously you can't get these in like piano gloss black or cherry walnut or anything like that. Was that, do you know if that was like a decision made to kind of keep the speaker in more of like a competitive like price range?
Yeah, I mean, that was part of it. You know, the veneers and such definitely do raise the price a little bit. And, you know, with these being primarily like custom install, you know, the focus was really on the tech and on the sound.
Yeah.
More than the picture, right? I mean, our Varus line, that's something you can stick in your living room all day long, right? That's just like high-end furniture, basically. And yeah, with these things, it's like, you know, generally more about disappearing into the background, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, the way that they're priced, you know, we definitely are after being competitive, of course, and you know, being internet direct to consumer, there's a lot of costs that we cut in that fact too, right? And so, so yeah, that's kind of been, you know, our model going forward is, you know, passing the savings onto a customer, you know, getting the most value, you know, for your money, especially in terms of a speaker. And you know, the fact that we do everything in house, our own drivers, you know, kind of top to bottom, the whole project, really lets us be competitive in that fact.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Kevin actually asked a really great question I wanted to highlight real quick. So those speakers made for millionaires are great. You know, talking about like the really high end stuff that you guys offer, but how about those that are kind of in the water budget range? So like, you know, maybe because you guys have products that like are that kind of span like a wider range of price, like from like kind of more budget oriented to like, okay, like you got some money to spend, here's what we offer.
Yeah.
What do you guys have like on the more budget end of stuff?
Well, yeah, you know, we definitely keep that in mind. And in fact, you know, going back to like the beginnings of Aperion Audio, right? We started with the Aperion Audio Intimus system, and it was like less than like $2,500 at the time. I mean, it was, you know, cheap. And of course, at that time, internet direct to consumer was, you know, a pretty new thing as well. The Intimus line ran for 20 years. It was actually right when I started that line, you know, started to discontinue. And what we did was we released the Novus line, which is essentially the replacement to Intimus, but a lot of the tech from the Varus line, you know, our flagship line, we put into this speaker line. So you have like ferrofluid cooled tweeters, the treble mod adjustments, which let you attenuate, you know, the high frequency. We do have some gloss finishes on most of the models. There's a couple that we don't offer the gloss finish on, but you know, honestly, the 5B, take that one for example, $599 retail. You know, an excellent set of bookshelf speakers. And, you know, I think market wise, most people are looking for a 6-inch or bigger woofer, which, you know, it's just kind of the way everything is nowadays. But these things really smack. They smack pretty good. And especially with the energy amplifiers, you know, again, it all depends on your amplifier really. But, you know, I mean, Cheap Audio Man, there's a good review for you right there. If he says they're great and cheap.
Randy, yeah. I actually ran into him at Audio Advice Live. I'd never met him before. He's a super nice dude.
Yeah, Randy's
super nice dude.
He's a really great guy. But yeah, you know, like I say, a lot of the tech from the Varus line, like our custom built crossovers, tweeter design, you know, woofer design, a lot of that was brought in from the Varus, just in a less expensive, you know, package. And yeah, like I said, the Novus line is cool. And, you know, kind of like the Theatris, we have a lot of different options, right? There's traditional, you know, bookshelf tower center. We have slim LCRs and slim satellite speakers that those suckers have 6-inch woofers, and man, they're awesome. I mean, it's almost like a tower on the wall, right? No footprint, right?
Yeah.
Kids. But yeah, the Varus line, we've expanded that into, you know, an 8-inch version. That's been happening over the last couple of years. Elan's got a couple of those speakers. And that one's gone up a little bit, of course, in price, just being big cabinets. I mean, you know, Elan can tell you those VATs are no slouch. They're pretty big speakers.
Yeah, man.
They look beautiful though.
Like, don't even try to fit that in a console. Like, that thing's got to go on a stand or like on a solid oak cabinet or something like that, right? Yeah. But yeah, you know, like I say, a lot of people want those bigger drivers, you know, in speakers nowadays, and especially in home theater. Everybody's looking for the biggest soundstage they can get. And this bad boy, that one's probably one of my favorites. You know, dual mid-range drivers, soft dome tweeter. I mean, personally, I don't think it gets any better than that. I really like that speaker.
That's cool. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
3-way.
10 of them.
3-way center channel all the way.
Always.
You gotta have 3-way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is like I'd never like experienced like LCR before, like in my theater before. That's kind of game changing too. Like if you could match the front 3 speakers, at least having the same like speaker for each one. Obviously it's not feasible for most people, especially when you're looking at tower speakers or whatnot. Unless you have like a screen that you're putting it behind that's acoustically transparent. It's again, I go back to that cohesion word, because it's just a cohesive sound field. Like everything is like just like when you have stuff panning across the front soundstage, it sounds like there's no difference between the sound coming from each speaker. It's totally like a different experience that again, I'd never heard before in my theater. It kind of elevates it to that, like it takes it out of like the home theater realm and makes it more like, oh, I'm going to an actual like cinema. It's crazy. Like I don't, again, not to gush over this stuff. It's just I'm still like, wow, this is crazy. I've never had anything like this in my home before. And even my wife's like, you're spending a lot of time in the theater room. I'm like, I'm working, honey. I'm working.
Come on, Brad, go hang out with your wife.
Yeah, come on. You're working anyway, sweetheart. I'm just playing Metallica at reference level, trying to blow my eardrums out.
The way it should be. The way
if it's too loud, you're too old.
Yes.
I've just been watching Airheads on repeat, guys.
I haven't seen that movie in so long.
Oh my goodness. The Lone Rangers. Well, speaking of movies, I know you guys have a lot of like probably different demo clips that you use between music and movies and maybe concerts and stuff. Do you have like some off the top of your head that's like, okay, if someone wants to hear the bass extension, I'm going to play this. If someone wants to hear this, I'm going to play that. Do you have any like off the top of your head that you just like are your go-tos regardless of like what someone asks for?
You know, honestly, on the theater side of things, my hard drive is getting a little outdated. I need to get some new movies and some new content in there. But like Transformers is always a go-to for us. I mean, that one's great for testing bass, especially.
Yeah.
Those scenes, you get a lot of really, really great low extension. With I'm trying to think, I had probably 24 clips or so lined up for the home entertainment show when we went there in June, and which was like so much fun. That was such a blast. I mean, I can't believe how expensive everything is in Costa Mesa, California. Like, oh my God, I thought it was bad in Oregon, but that's a ritzy neighborhood. But it was a lot of fun. And I'm trying to think, there was some Game of Thrones on there, any of your kind of standard, action movies. And then, as far as music goes, I think that's where I tend to dive a little deeper just because I'm a little more of a music buff than a movie buff myself. Have you guys ever heard of an artist named Closey?
No.
Closey is so awesome. She's, French gal, producer, guitar player. Like most of her stuff is electronic music and that sort of thing. But it's like, it's another level of electronic. And I say that because like prior to starting at Aperion Audio, I was like dirty punk rocker, like just listening to the Misfits and like anything punk rock all day long. I really didn't, ever dabble into electronic music. And then when I started working here at Aperion, it's like, we have the Bravas subwoofers, and holy cow, I got to know those really, really fast and quickly discovered that, man, electronic music is awesome if you have a really kick-ass subwoofer.
Yeah.
But Dallas showed me the artist Closey, and there's a remix she did of Barbatucas that like the low end extension and some of the effects that she puts on. It's like this, kind of ethnic chant song, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, she just basically puts in a ton of low frequency and like a couple of effects here and there. But yeah, I love demoing that one because you get this initial bass drop that just like rattles you to your core, and then the song is like super pumped up, like, you know, you're just ready to get out and like do something after listening to that song. Like you just want to go tear the place apart or something, right? And you know, going back to my car stereo days, Lindsey Buckingham, God damn, now I forget the name of the track. Don't Look Down. That's what it is. Don't Look Down by Lindsey Buckingham. A lot of panning back and forth, a lot of shakers, a lot of cymbals, percussion. And so, you know, my boss and I would use that to test speakers in cars because it was easy to identify, you know, each driver throughout, especially with, you know, larger SUVs and stuff like that. But I love using that track for stereo demos because it's a very intricate, very cool guitar part. I mean, Lindsey Buckingham's known for, you know, his kind of avant-garde, weird guitar styles and playing the thing. And yeah, my parents actually met at a Fleetwood Mac concert in 1977. So Fleetwood Mac's a big thing for me.
Oh yeah,
big influence, you know. But yeah, those you know, Closey, Lindsey Buckingham. I mean, of course, all of your standards. You know, usually with every demo, we listen to you know, Money for Nothing and like Hotel California. I can't tell you how many times I heard Hotel California at the show. Like, true shows will make you hate that song.
Oh yeah, there's yeah.
It's the Hell Freezes Over tour edition.
Just tons growing up, and so I know that album just through and through. And yeah, it's a good bass test, you know, the first time around.
Yeah, right. Oh my, the first CD I ever went to, I saw that scene from The Greatest Showman, the, you know, Never Enough, where she's singing it. I saw that probably 12 times. And I was like, I've never seen the movie. I don't want to at this point.
You don't even want to go watch it now.
I don't even want to go watch it. It's like that and A Star Is Born. I'm like, I just don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Kevin actually asked, which Transformer movie do you typically demo? Or do you kind of have a selection of like, you know, because I think there's like 12 now? No, like 5. Something like that. I think I know, like, for me off the top of my head, like the first Transformers movies, or just the first Transformer movie when they kind of fall from space for the first time, that was always like my go-to. But then also the third one has like some really great like Atmos effects if you have the 4K disc.
Yep. I think that's the one. I can't remember which one we have in there now. I want to say it's. I'm just going to go look at the DVD. One sec.
Do it. He had to go to the bathroom anyway. No, no, there was speaking of demos, like I've been listening to a lot of music lately, like I mentioned. And there's a band that I discovered a few years ago.
Revenge of the Fallen.
You got it.
Revenge of the Fallen?
Revenge of the Fallen. So the second one.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And yeah, decent effects for Atmos as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, as much shit as those movies get, you know, because like it's just Michael Bay in general. Their audio mixes are always just like insane. Like they're very active. I mean, it kind of matches the cinematography, right? Like it's so frantic and stuff. Yeah, no, I was just saying that there's a band that I discovered a few years ago playing a video game called Low Roar. And they're based out of like Iceland. Unfortunately, the lead singer passed away a couple years ago from pneumonia, of all things. But he was young too. I think he was 40. But yeah, there's a track called Nobody Else, and the bass on that track is like insane. But like his voice kind of sounds like your tweeters are broken. But like they're spread out, like it's spread out so far into stereo that it like creates this kind of otherworldly sound, like it just encompasses you. And it's like if I always say, if you're okay with like a little distortion in the vocals because it was mixed that way, it's really like it'll test like your subs and the drivers and your speakers for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it hits really hard. It just kind of comes out of nowhere too. You're like, oh, okay. All of his other tracks are like acoustic guitar, and then suddenly it's just like, it's like just this loud bass note. But yeah, I'm so like I've been listening to so much more music like the past like few days, just with no EQ, just like pure direct on my receiver, right? Like again, going back to like the kind of the soundstage being massive. I put on Ocean Avenue by Yellow Card. Obviously, always a good track. And yeah, like it just starts out with a guitar, the distortion guitar, but then like when everything else comes in, it's just like, whoa, like it just kind of blasts you, right? And it's like that's really like never heard that before. Like
I always loved that drum track, Ocean Avenue.
Oh yeah, it's such high energy too, and like it's sad because I think their original drummer left the band, so he's no longer with them. But yeah, that was I saw them live quite a few years ago, and this is before why can't I think of the lead singer's name? It's before he had vocal surgery because like he had like something going on. But the music of it and the guy playing the violin were like insane. He was doing like backflips and dancing and stuff. I'm like, this guy's gonna like break his ankle or something. Like, it was just a cool show. But
it was almost like did you ever listen to Motion City Soundtrack?
Yes.
And like the keyboard player would do like handstands on his keyboard, and they were just like crazy live. It was almost kind of like that, right?
Yeah. I miss the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones dancer that just comes out, and that's his whole job. He just dances. That's it. It's the impression that he gets.
That's the impression that he gets.
That's it. Yeah.
Zing.
Collin, how do you spell closey?
Clozee, I believe.
Capital Z.
Capital Z. Yep. You got to make sure and have that capital Z.
Wow.
Got to highlight this comment. Just straight up the lyrics, man.
Those lyrics.
Yeah.
Take me right back to high school.
I know, man.
Night.
And
copyright strike.
Demonetization. Copyright strike.
I bet you know that song on piano, don't you, Elon? No.
Elon, play us some Coldplay. That's the exact song everybody thinks of when they think of that band. Chris Martin is like, I just made 10 cents.
You know what came out of the emo movement, though, that a lot of people don't appreciate, I don't think, is, and both of you will be happy about this, there were some incredible drummers with so many emo bands. Taking Back Sunday. So many incredible drummers. I liked the lyrics and the whiny boy singing. I could only take that so much, but man, I could listen to all the drum tracks isolated if I could all day.
I lived it and breathed it. Like, I had so many emo bands in high school, and I played in rock bands. Like, I had my hair black, like combed over, and I didn't have a nose ring or anything because I was like a punk kid in Nebraska. But yeah, played a lot of emo music in high school.
It's like, I mean, I went through, like, we all, everybody goes through phases with like their musical tastes and stuff. And I was in, I think 4 or 5 different bands, and they were all different, right? Like, they were all kind of like, this band played this stuff, and this band wanted to be more like Seven Dust, or this band wanted, and eventually you're like, okay, I don't really look up to Lars Ulrich anymore as a drummer. So, yeah, guys want to play some Rush? And they're like, no, we can't. No. And I just leave. Kevin actually mentions Yellow's Atmos, their Point album. I think that's.
Yep.
Oh.
Yes. The.
In an Atmos mix, huh?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got that one on Blu-ray. It's really cool.
I will have to listen to that. That's interesting.
I still have some of my DVD audio CDs, guys. I don't have any way to play them, but could rock to
hey,
some
just
Three Doors
ask
Down.
Bill from Arvolution. Maybe he'll send you out a UDP 800 or something.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I have the Arvolution Player One 8K that supposedly will do DSD audio, but I don't think that's compatible with DVD audio. I think that's just SACD.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I don't have any SACDs, unfortunately.
It's probably not many current formats, but have you seen Muse Harp, HAARP?
No.
It's their live at Wembley concert.
Oh,
that one is sweet. Like, that is such a cool concert. That was the first time I watched that. I was fairly inebriated in high school at a buddy's house, and like life-changing. Like, I was like, oh my God, I think God just spoke to me through a music DVD. Like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I'm kind of a diehard Muse fan, but I saw him at in Denver, actually, at the Pepsi Center years ago, and probably top 5 coolest concerts I've ever seen in my life. Like, their live show is just incredible. And that show at Wembley is like such a good concert to watch in multi-channel stereo. It's really awesome.
You're not the first person that I've heard that from. My wife saw Muse in concert.
Oh, really?
She was like, you have to see them. And I was like, I know 2 songs. She's like, well, you need to study up because you need to,
their older stuff especially just like spoke to me, because it's like it kind of has like a classic sort of feel to it, right? And the way that he writes and the progressions. And so like, I can't remember, Plug-In Baby, I think, is like almost exactly like an Arbin study, which, if you don't know what an Arbin study it is, it's like it's a brass workout basically, or arpeggios. And when I heard Plug-In Baby, I'm like, oh my God, this is like what I'm studying on my horn right now. Like, this is so crazy that it's rock and roll, and just kind of made me love it more.
I think I became aware of them through Guitar Hero, of all things.
Sidonia, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. And I love that song. It's just such a, like, the guitar track on that song is just, I mean, the whole song is just kind of has this vibe to it, right? Like, it's unlike anything I had ever heard. I'm like, what is this band? And I started looking them up, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I've not had a chance to see them live.
That's the opener in that DVD, and like the middle part, where it's just the vocals isolated with and Wembley is screaming that along with him, like,
wow. Oh my gosh.
Cool.
Yeah, it's I was talking to a friend of mine. I have them. I have friends. But I was talking to a friend of mine, for sure, other than Elon. But no, I was like, it's hard to find like really good like multi-channel concerts.
Yeah.
I think one of them that I wanted to be so good that just kind of wasn't great was I think it was Rush R30, because I'm a big Rush fan. And like whatever they did to that mix, it's just like, oh, it's disappointing. Obviously those are like Hans Zimmer and John Williams, like they have some like Dolby Atmos, native Dolby Atmos mixes on their Blu-rays. But it's like, I love like, I love to find like some more like live concerts that actually kind of put you there. I think before the stream started, we were talking about like Metallica Through the Never. And I've mentioned it on the stream before because it was like my first one of my first like IMAX experiences, going to see that. Cool. And I should have brought earplugs because it was as loud as a concert. I don't know what the SPL was, but my ears were ringing for 2 or 3 days after.
Oh,
it was that loud. And so my goal secretly unbeknownst to anybody else, was to always get the Blu-ray to kind of sound like that, but like at a lower volume, right? Like the kick drum, like pounding you in the chest and stuff. And I'm getting there.
That god awful snare drum tone, coming right through into your ears.
Oh, right. At least it's not the St. Anger snare drum. So
it's just like
just a steel like keg that he probably stole from like a Slipknot or something.
I was gonna say,
hanging on like
just traded drums real quick.
That's
Tom
it.
worked it out.
In his weird accent. No. But like finding good concerts is it's a hard thing to do, and like a lot of them, what I found is they're still on DVD. Like they've never gotten like a Blu-ray or HD treatment at all.
Right.
And so it's like you're getting lost, like super lossy Dolby Digital or DTS, and I'd love to see some of this stuff like either remastered for Atmos or at least give us like lossless tracks, because like when you're trying to demo audio gear, there's nothing like listening to an MP3. Am I right? You know? Like you're really doing yourself a disservice if you're doing that. And thankfully with like modern technology, we have things like Tidal and things like that. And Qobuz? So like you can get lossless 2-channel streaming over your network. It's great. But I'm still like a physical. I love having like a physical disc. Like there's something about that experience that I love, but I also don't want for everything.
Right.
It kind of brings me back to like when I first got into the hobby, where it's like super cool. Do you guys have any like just dedicated music rooms there at the at your showroom, or is it all just kind of a amalgamation of that you kind of make whatever you can work?
Yeah, kind of mainly the sound room. I mean, that one's actually treated properly too, so everything kind of sounds best in that room. It's on the smaller side, and we do have another system set up in our lobby as well, which I was actually just trying to search which DVD I have in that player. It's I don't think it's an All That Could Have Been, but I'm not sure it's Beside You in Time either, but 9 Inch Nails live.
Oh yeah.
That one, I don't think that
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the title for that one maybe, but that's a really cool one. In fact, when I was at NAMM one year, I got to meet Justin Mendel Johnson, the bass player. And he's done bass with Beck and several other artists. Really, really cool guy. He was like, I don't remember what booth it was, but he was just like off the beaten path at NAMM, and he was just kind of like sitting there scrolling on his phone. And so my buddy and I, who were 9 Inch Nails fans, he spotted him and he's like, "That's Justin Mendel Johnson. Let's go talk to him." But I love watching him play because he uses like shorter scale basses, like Mustangs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And 9 Inch Nails is just, kind of back to my growing up. My brother was into new metal and stuff like that, and was kind of that influence in me with rock and roll and metal and stuff like that. So but yeah, that concert, it's the one where they have like the LED screen that comes over the front of the stage, and then Trent Reznor is like touching the screen, and the screen reacts in different ways while they're playing. It's a really trippy show. I mean, I don't think you can watch that if you have epilepsy, because it's like nothing but flashing crazy a 9 Inch Nails video, right?
yeah I mean,
but really cool mix, and like especially in terms of like raw awesome Gibson guitar sound, like holy cow, awesome. A lot of fun.
You know what, I think I might have that somewhere. I think I need to go through the DVDs I have in I'll just have like a DVD, like 4 totes of DVDs in like my closet. It's an old one,
but man, it's solid.
Yeah, I think I remember watching that. And obviously like you have your requisite tracks, like everybody knows, like Closer and Hurt and Head Like a Hole and all that stuff. Right. But it's kind of like the stuff like in between. Like I know March of the Pigs is kind of like a big track that everybody knows, but it was always like one of my favorites just because like
that's one of my favorites too.
Like the way the drum beat starts, you're like not really sure like what time signature is this. I'm not really you know, but then and obviously like him going into like, I mean, he's like a master lyricist, because I'm just like, I don't know how he comes up with this.
That's another one of those like Knights of Sidonia that like it's awesome in the studio, but then you see it live and it's like, holy crap!
Yeah,
rip the roof off of the place.
Yeah, and you know, it's obviously like rare for that. A lot of times, it's like the opposite. Like you hear the studio recording, you're like, oh, it sounds great, and you see him live. Like, I mean, as much as I enjoyed Lamb of God on the album, seeing them live, it was just like, I don't understand what's happening. Like, there's just a lot of mushiness to the guitars, and it wasn't.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing, but yeah, I you know, Muse is one of them, and Nine Inch Nails, like their live show, like eclipses anything that they've put out on the albums, you know. And so like to kind of even get like a fraction of that power, because they're very powerful live, right? It's just like to capture that, it's in some form is like awesome. And so yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up and try to find my disc somewhere. It's somewhere, I don't know where it is.
It's somewhere. It's under there.
It's under yes, it's over there. It's going to be in the last tote I look in, probably at the bottom. I'm like, oh, that's where my Metallica Cunning Stunts DVD has gone.
All of them all together. In the
all of
wherever look, that's where they'll be.
And just a picture of Collin at the bottom. It's like, I knew it. I was like,
whoa,
this is
everything
weird.
in my office is exactly where I don't think it's going to be.
Yep, the last place. And then you'll remember, wait a minute, I gave that to somebody. Never mind.
Yeah, right.
Now I'm looking for nothing. But yeah, I mean, we could talk all day about music, about movies, about speakers, all of it. Elon, do you have I feel like I've spearheaded the conversation here. Do you have thoughts, opinions, concerns?
Muse is cool.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I've seen him twice in concert, actually.
Sweet.
Yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, the live engineers, they're doing something real special with that band, because it's a three-person band, and it sounds like it's a million people on stage, but it's not. But I think that's also why it works, because there's not that many, you know, instruments, and the arrangements don't really muddy up each other, because there's only three things going on at once, or, you know, maybe a little bit of backing tracks or something, you know, to kind of give it some oomph, more so than if it was just the three of them. But still, yeah, just the light show, the visuals that go along with the amazing music. It was, yeah, they're definitely, if anyone hasn't seen them yet live, that definitely needs to be on your bucket list.
Do it.
Yeah. Funny enough, though, my favorite artist of all time is Beck, and I saw him open for the Red Hot Chili Peppers at Levi's Stadium last year, but I haven't actually seen him headline.
Wow.
And man, because I remember just thinking to myself, one of my bucket list concerts of his would be seeing him playing with an orchestra behind him, because he has several albums and several songs where there's an orchestra, because his father is an arranger, or he has something to do with orchestra anyway. So a lot of the stuff that is orchestrated on his albums are done by his father. And man, because he literally just had a concert over the summer where he had several dates around, you know, the United States, and each one of them had their local orchestra playing behind him.
Oh, that's super cool.
So I wish I would have seen that, but
that's really cool.
Had other stuff going on.
No.
Yeah.
Say it ain't so.
I assume this particular tour went very well, so I'm hoping he does another one similar sometime soon. But yeah.
Orchestral performances alone are just like incredible anyway. Like,
yeah.
I got to attend a couple when I was in college, and yeah, it was like, I don't remember what the piece was, but there was this cello that was traveling with this particular piece of music, and it was like made in like the 1600s or something like that, like crazy freaking old, and just like the power coming off of all of those stringed instruments, you know, mic'd and everything. This was Colorado Symphony Orchestra. You know, the room was pretty good. It was definitely in disrepair at that time. I think they've done a lot to improve that, but man, just the power coming off of all of those stringed instruments and the resonance, and just, you know, feeling it if you're lucky enough to get seats, you know, close to the orchestra. I think, you know, that was another one of those life-changing music experiences for me, was like, you know, experiencing a professional orchestra for the first time, you know, in person.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Like, I've never come even close to that. I've always wanted to see, because I'm a big, like, Elon and I will go on and on sometimes when we talk about like movie soundtracks and orchestral themes from like John Williams and, you know, Danny Elfman, and I can't imagine like getting the opportunity to see John Williams live conduct an orchestra, playing all of these you know, Indiana Jones and Star Wars and you know, Hook and all of this stuff. It's like hearing that and feeling that. I think that's the thing you don't get necessarily from like a track or like a recording, unless it's really well done, right? Is that feeling of being there, that kind of spacious, like that's the spatial awareness of it, and just kind of things that are like vibrating your inner being, or you know, wind instruments that are up there in the, you know, 30s, 40s, 50K range that you don't necessarily hear but you feel. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it, you know, say what you want about whatever you believe or whatever, but like it honestly does come down to like energies. Like there's just this energy and this air about being at a concert like that, where like everybody is there for a reason and they came to watch this amazing orchestra play. And I think that also just kind of heightens things that otherwise you just wouldn't experience if you're just listening to it in your theater or listening to it in your living room or something. It's just kind of like, it's like the same thing like going to see a stand-up comic live. Like it's just different than watching them on Netflix or something, you know. It's just,
well, yeah, that 2-drink minimum, that makes a hell of a difference.
yeah.
Everything's funnier after that.
Right.
Elon, I was hoping
that way.
I was hoping you would go into like some really technical stuff so I could call you Elon deGrasse Tyson. You're like, and truer words have never been spoken by Elon deGrasse Tyson. Yeah, but no, you're right, and it does come down to like energy and stuff, and to kind of tie it all back to Aperion Audio and their super tweeters. No, no, but like you guys actually do offer something that not a lot of other companies offer, in that a lot of, like, I know like the Theatra speakers in particular, they have like a frequency response where they kind of tap out at like the higher end, right? Like well above 20K. And you guys also offer super tweeters as well that can be added to other speakers to kind of extend that range even higher. Can you talk a little bit about that, and like what has been your experience like listening to that versus like not having, like, say, a super tweeter?
Absolutely. So like, you know, when I came onto the company in 2019, that was shortly after the Aperion had launched the first planar magnetic super tweeter. And so, you know, like you said, idea is to, you know, pair it to another speaker, improve the high frequency response, get that sparkle, you know, kind of clarity or that airy sound that, you know, a lot of people are looking for in stereo mixes. And it's been a really cool thing to be a part of and to see kind of the evolution that our company has made. And so, you know, right here you see, you know, several super tweeter models, and you know, like I say, it's kind of been an evolution, you know, with the planar magnetic, you know, it, like I say, adds that nice sparkle and clarity. we took that a step further, you know, into different drivers. So then came our aluminum ribbon tweeter, which I think that one's probably my favorite for sure out of all of them. The aluminum ribbon is just such a smooth response. You know, I feel like it sort of just blends into, you know, our Vera speakers, for example. That's what I primarily listen to. They really just fall in place. You know, the planar magnetic, it does awesome. It adds the sparkle and clarity, but I kind of feel like I can identify, you know, tweeters on top of the speaker, whereas the aluminum ribbon, it's just a little bit smoother. It just kind of falls right into place. And, you know, improvement in your overall sound, you know, not just the high frequency, but everything else. You know, it wires in parallel to your main speaker. So, you know, it's receiving the same signal, and you have an adjustable crossover and attenuation control that you can use to then blend it into your speakers. But, you know, for example, like, you know, very exposed jazz tracks like stand-up bass and a female vocalist, you know, you hear more of that pluck from the stringed instrument. You hear those overtones, you know, those things that kind of get lost a little bit in the mix, you know, especially with like, you know, a standard two-way bookshelf speaker or something like that. And, you know, leading up to our DST, dual firing AMT, you know, this was produced and kind of in planning for the Theatra speakers, right? You know, those use an AMT as well. And these things are incredible. You know, personally, they're a little bright for my taste, which, you know, I've never been afraid to tell people, yeah, I do like the middle priced one way better than the more expensive one, you know. We're not, you know, real hard sellers necessarily. We want people to experience things for what they're looking for.
Right.
Now, you know, kind of the cool thing with this and with our follow-up to this, our HST, you know, sound pressure level is kind of one thing we use to judge compatibility, also, you know, for dialing them in. And with the other three tweeters, you know, sometimes we'd get customers that would try them with, you know, more efficient speakers, stuff like Klipsch horns and, you know, different things like that, you know, sensitivity in like the 99, 100 decibels, even higher. So this is kind of our answer to that. This one reaches up to 103 decibels. And so those compare with, your more high efficient speakers. And, you know, if you're really just a freak for high frequency, man, this thing will tickle your fancy.
and the inner ear hair and your ears.
And that and the ceiling and, you know, your shingles and I'm just kidding. Now they're a lot of fun. You know, I tell people all the time, half the fun is just putting your favorite song on repeat and trying all the settings and kind of seeing what it does with a given set of speakers. And, you know, it's totally a subjective thing too. And we've often led with that, the fact that, you know, everybody's opinion of good high frequency, just like good bass, you know, is totally different. And it's dependent on the room, the system, the ears, you know, so many different things. But it sure is fun to kind of augment, you know, a given set of speakers and, you know, tailor them to what you're looking for or what you think you might be missing. I've even had people add them into home theater systems, you know, all 5 or even 7 channels all the way around. And, yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people ask me, like, you know, do the super tweeters do anything for dialogue? How is it for center channel? And it definitely does something. You know, I don't think, especially male dialogue, you get a little bit more articulation out of it. And, you know, they're not really a blow you back kind of effect. You know, they're more of a subtle kind of thing. But like I say, that's kind of the fun part. And sometimes it takes, you know, 20 hours for your ears to really adjust to the new sounds, especially if you've had a given set of speakers for, you know, 10, 15, 20 years, even. Like adding super tweeters is going to be a whole nother venture, just like adding on a subwoofer, you know. Nobody sets their crossover and leaves it alone the first time, right? Play with it for a while.
And then there's those freaks like me who just measure and measure and measure and be like, this gets me a smoother response. I'm going with that. So like, but no,
to each their own. You know, that's the beautiful part about the audio world is there is no perfect answer because
and every room is different and every person's ears are different. So like, there's always going to be like a variable. And you know, I joke about being a freak that like measures stuff, and I do, but like I've kind of gotten out of that habit of like, relying solely on measurements, because measurements only tell you part of the story, right? Like, what's the actual listening experience like?
Right.
That's more important. Like, because guess what, guys? You're not going to be able to hear. You're more than likely not going to be able to hear that dip, right? Unless it's really, really severe. If it's a major suck out of bass, then yeah, you're probably going to notice that. But if it's like, you know, a 3 or 4 dB dip at like 2K, probably not really going to notice that much. Whereas like you'll notice if like your highs are way brighter than like everything else. Like you're just like, they're gonna, you know, like if it's, I think Collin, I was telling you like 2 of the clearest 6Cs that I have in the ceiling, like they were like 12 dB, like even with the little flip switch in like minus to like bring the highs down, they were still like 12 dB hot, like after like 8K. And I'm like, I gotta tame those, because like all I hear are the highs. You know, things like that. It's like, you know, you have to, you know, try something, listen with your ears. Do you like that way it sounds? Some people actually like that. They want most people already want like height speakers, Atmos speakers to be more prominent anyway. Right. They want to be able to hear them. Whereas like I personally, for me, I don't want them calling attention to themselves all the time. Like I want everything to kind of be natural and cohesive. So like, but yeah, like again, everybody's different. You know, and I think like adding like a super tweeter would be really cool, because like you said, it definitely does something, right? And being able to like kind of go, I don't really know what it is, and it's honestly like really hard to measure unless you start spending more and more money on gear to do that, because of something like a U mic will only measure accurately up to like 22K. After that, you're like, it's a no man's land. You have no idea how accurate that thing is, right?
Right.
So it's like, oh, you could be seeing something, but who the hell knows what it's actually doing. But yeah, I think
funny comment with the super tweeters, like, oh, okay, so only my dog's gonna hear these. Like, yeah, that's what we're selling.
You guys have heard of
you gotta
at Starbucks. This is a super tweeter for your dog. No, I mean, I think there was something a comment on a video that I'd done for Audioholics talking about infrasonics, and you know, that kind of really, you know, basically anything below 20 hertz, the guy was saying like it's completely pointless because you can't hear it. I was like, no, but you can feel it. Like same with above 20K. Like we may not be able to hear. I mean, I probably can't hear above 10K, but you know, above 20K we can't really hear it. But like our body, like we still process that. Like we can still feel it. Like Elon was saying, it's energy. You know, and along with that becomes a feeling like of you know, like a sense of space, a sense of airiness. And I think that that's something I have noticed with like the Theatrix, is like because of that ribbon, like the AMT ribbon in there, there is this like an airiness to everything, especially like listening to like John Williams or like orchestral stuff. I really notice it then. Like there's a sense of space and like even like string instruments, I notice it, but like brass and stuff like that, I can really hear it. Obviously, if I'm listening on Spotify, it's not really that pronounced, but if I grab a disc, right, of just like a high quality recording, then you really start to notice that sparkle.
Get that compression out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Like I mean, I love the convenience of Spotify, but like I wouldn't use it for critical listening, obviously. Working out, it's great.
I've hated Spotify ever since I started using it, and like recently just stopped, honestly.
I've
changed the store over to Tidal instead of Spotify, and like you know, the selection is definitely better. I mean, that's a thing. Huge. But gosh, Tidal and like physical discs, you just can't beat it in my opinion.
No. I always say like I like Spotify for working out, and if I'm on a road trip listening in the car where I'm not really, if I'm doing any type of critical listening, I'm not using Spotify.
Right.
But it's great for convenience, or just to have when I'm vacuuming around the house or cleaning.
Not so critical listening.
Exactly. More for fun. Oh, we actually got a question. Joel asks, what are the main differentiators between the Veris and Novus speaker line in terms of home theater setup? He says, in other words, who would be better suited for one versus the other for a home theater setup?
Great question. I think, aside from budget and that sort of thing, I mean, kind of the obvious stuff, there's a couple of different points between the Veris and Novus that I like to bring up. One of them being the structure of the base ports, right? So with the Veris speakers, the towers, the bookshelves, you have rear-facing ports. And so, especially with the towers, they need a little bit of room, behind the speaker. You don't really want them closed up against a wall, right? With the Novus line, those feature front-facing slotted ports. And so, those can do a little bit better, in smaller rooms and that sort of thing. I think the Novus 5-inch is great for small rooms. Getting into the Veris 6-inch and the Veris 8-inch, those are going to be better, obviously, for bigger sized rooms. The nice thing is that center channels in both speaker lines are three-way centers. So I think that's, important, as we've discussed before. And, the Novus, like I say, is a little smaller speaker. So sometimes with more compact setups, with, less floor space, like I said before, it's a lot of the same tech as the Veris speakers, just in a little less expensive package and a little more compact package as well. But yeah, I'd definitely say, larger rooms, that's going to be better with the Veris line. The Veris is also biampable as well. So if you're looking to biamp your front channels or your surrounds, that's going to be the option there. And between the two, I've always loved the Kevlar woofers on the Veris line. I think it's just such a cool driver design, and it's very punchy sounding too. The Aramid fiber is pretty good on the Novus line. In fact, the 6Ts, that's probably my favorite speaker from the Novus line. Is the N6T tower speaker. It's really just a BA two-way center channel or tower speaker. It puts out a lot of really great bass response. And the sloping baffles are an interesting point on the Novus line too. It tilts back just slightly. It's not a huge grade to it, but it's a little sleeker, a little more modern looking. Magnetic grills on both options, so no annoying little tiny peg grills that get broken. Any of that stuff, right? Magnetic grills are much nicer. And so, if you're looking for, that beautiful wood finish that's like total showstopper, your friends come over and just, drool on the stuff. I mean, the Veris line is definitely where it's at, but, something a little more sleek and kind of disappearing into the background, I think the Novus is a sweet option too. Something funny, a customer told me one time, he said, I love the Veris line because of those radius tops. Not only are they beautiful, but nobody is going to set a beer on top of that speaker. I was like, man, that is like the coolest thing I've heard all day. Like, that is so fun.
Yeah, for sure. Also, if someone sets a beer on any of my stuff, they're never coming over again.
They're out of here.
They're out of here. Get out of here.
That's where the Novus, is susceptible to beer rings. But like I say, smaller room versus bigger rooms, finish preference, I think, can play into it as well. But yeah, like I say, basically a slightly less expensive, less of an investment, but still, really amazing sound.
Awesome. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question, Joel. Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for Collin relating to the Theatrus. Basically, so the T65s come out of the box with the ports plugged. Now in the manual,
actually.
yeah. So like in the manual, it recommends taking them out for most applications. Mm-hmm. But what if you're say kind of mixing them with the T65 Slims, which are a sealed cabinet,
Mm-hmm.
would you recommend, depending on the application, obviously, porting up the T65s to match the sealed nature of like the T65 Slims? Would there be any like massive acoustical differences porting those T65s up?
Yeah, I think it depends on the application, and kind of the nice thing with the Slims is that sometimes they can snake behind projection screens a lot easier. Like if you room for your projection screen, that can go dead center, and it's 5 inches deep, so like that can usually fit, and sometimes a lot easier than the ported models, which are way deeper. I think I definitely prefer the T65 with the ports unplugged, and it's something that we do with our Varus line too. With the V6Ts and the V8Ts, we include the port plugs in the box, in the speaker, and that way it's like you have options. I mean, like we said earlier, every room is different, and bass is like the trickiest thing to manage in a given room, in my opinion. And so sometimes, like, I've had people that install Varus speakers, and there's like, a stairway that goes up right next to the front sound stage. It's just like a standard house or something like that.
Yeah.
And I've had people port the plugs and kind of eliminate, some standing waves or some boominess, that happens.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of times I encourage people to see how everything sounds. Obviously with ports unplugged, you're going to get way more bass response.
Right.
And there again, in a home theater application, a lot of times you're sending 80 hertz and below to the subwoofer anyway. So it's like,
does it really matter?
I don't think it makes a huge difference. I mean, in front of the screen, to the sides of the screen, behind the screen. I mean, there's all those different factors to play in as well.
Yeah.
And so, I think the performance is best if you can have them unplugged. And between like, the slim sound and the full T65 sound, I think they're really, really close. I mean, obviously the T65 is going to have a little more oomph to it just because of cabinet size and habit ports. But, there again, in like a home theater application, I feel like I'm really more so judging the mid-range and the high range, and those channels going all the way around. And I mean, I can't remember. There was one reviewer that we'd sent the T65s to, or maybe it was the T80s. It might have been Giles. I can't remember. But they said they liked it better ported, just worked better in their room. The bass response was more controllable, I guess. And like I said, it's nice to have options with a speaker, and not have to go find a rolled up towel or something like that to stuff in the speaker. Getting a really boomy sound. I mean, especially with the V8Ts. I mean, those things with the port plugs, it's like, okay, it's a speaker, and then you pull the port plugs out, and it's like, yes, that's
there it is.
There it is.
You know what I love of like the Theatrix I'm a huge fan of having speakers with ports on the front, and less so on the rear, only because in every room I've ever been in, having ports on the rear, because let's face it, most people place their speakers far too close to the wall. So you get that the SBIR, the speaker boundary inner, I can't even remember what it means now. But basically reinforcement. So the speaker boundary something in it, whatever. So you get the bass reinforcement from that, but sometimes like in my case, I just like in my old speakers, they couldn't be, I never like plugged them, but they were ported in the rear. They had 2 ports on the rear, and they were just too bassy. Like they would just, I just EQ it out, and then like you said, cross it over anyway at like 80. I think in my room, 90 at that, like with those speakers works the best. Like there's got rid of all the dips around the crossover region. But like I'm curious to see, like, because like the Theatrix definitely match like the clear 60s pretty well, in terms of like the timbre and everything, and they surprisingly match fairly well with the like my Pioneer Andrew Jones, like for the side and back surrounds. But I'm curious to see what it would be like adding like the T65 Slims for the sides and backs, you know, to kind of have that cohesion. So I know we had talked about that like originally, doing that over time to kind of build out the system and like see what a reference system sounds like.
I think that'll be the cool thing, is feeling that higher sound pressure level, you know, from those channels. And it's gonna come alive, you know, and kind of come fire in the back, right?
Yeah. And I think like a lot of people underestimate the amount of like sound coming from surrounds these days, and in like, I mean, less so like the height channels, because like how many times have you heard like, yeah, that like I don't really hear a lot up there, you know, or whatever. But like surrounds are active, like super active. And to kind of have that, especially with games, like I know we talk a lot about movies and stuff, but a lot of games these days have very, very active, you know, especially bed layers. And even more so, like I think games are actually utilizing height channels better than a lot of static mixes in movies, because they're dynamic. You know, like it's something to like stand next to a waterfall and be able to hear the waterfall falling down behind you, and as you pan the camera, it like changes position. Like that's just super cool. But yeah, like you said, that the higher like SPL, like just feeling that power, definitely.
Well, it's getting more towards that like cinematic feel, right? You know, like sitting in the IMAX, sitting in the movie theater. I mean, you know, speakers that they're using in these professional theaters are, you know, horn loaded, right? They're usually pretty efficient, big giant boxes, and so something like that, but somewhat manageable in an average.
Well, what I noticed right away with the T65s is how much more efficient they were, and how much more sensitive they were, because on my Pioneers, for instance, I think I had to, because I calibrate at reference level. So like I was having to boost the Pioneers 2 to 3 dB most of the time. Whereas like these, I'm like down like -4.
You're cutting them.
I'm cutting them because they're just too, like, I think out of the, like, with no EQ or anything, they were measuring like 83 or 84 dB at 0. And I was like, okay, I got room. You know, like definitely got that headroom. So yeah, watching stuff like Top Gun Maverick is like a completely different experience.
Oh hell yeah.
With these, it's insane.
Remembered earlier, there's I have a clip on my hard drive from the movie Unbroken. You guys watch that? There's like a scene, I haven't watched the whole movie actually, but there's a scene where they're like dropping bombs, and then a crazy dogfight breaks out, and so you know, he's trying to like repair the bomb bay doors because they got like shot up and everything, and just all the whizzing around, you know, stuff moving in the background, and it's like it's all over the surround channels. It's really, really fun, really, really cool.
I'm gonna have to add that to my list.
The closest, I haven't watched the whole movie. I hear the rest of the movie is like kind of brutal because he gets captured and stuff. It's like a World War II movie, right? So
yeah,
I don't know about the rest of it, but I do know there's a cool bomber scene.
Do you even have those T107s in your listening room right now?
I don't have them in the listening room yet. We just got a couple in so far. Yeah, they're monsters. I haven't broken my. I don't even know if I can fit it in the listening room. Like that thing is so massive.
You'll have to build a separate one just for theatrics.
Yeah, just for theatrics. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, speakers get bigger. Like there's even like some subwoofers I can't fit in my room. Like even if I took the door off the hinges, I'm like, this isn't going in there. Like I can't.
Not happening.
Not happening. I don't want to take the door off the hinges if I could help it.
Yeah.
And I just always
rethink decisions, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm just like at that point, I'm like, you guys aren't getting this back. I hope you know that. Like you're not.
It's
this is mine. If I have to modify my door in any way, get these in, they're like, that's fine. But no, I was just thinking of like an old demo I used to use and I haven't used in a while. You guys ever heard of a little indie band called Godsmack? You remember that band? Yeah. So they on the Changes DVD, they had a drum battle between Shannon Larkin and Sully Erna. and to listen to that really loud was an experience because
That was probably pretty cool.
They go back and forth. They play some kind of some classics too, like from like other bands, like "Walk This Way" by Aerosmith.
Oh, sweet.
I think it's the like the kind of drum breakdown middle solo in Tom Sawyer. So like there's a bunch of like little things in there, but like it starts out like it's about 10 minutes long, so it's a lengthy one. I normally try to keep my demos under like 5 because I've been to some people's houses where it's like, okay, we gotta shoot a video. I don't know if we're doing this or that's like, are we gonna just watch Titanic the whole movie, or
just want to get some tacos or something?
Yeah,
or like...
Jimmy John's is around the corner. We could just grab a Hunter's Club or something. But yeah, like that's another cool. I don't think it ever got an HD treatment. Yeah, I used to have like a Excel spreadsheet of like timestamps of like all of this stuff, and it's on a hard drive somewhere. Probably never gonna see the light of day. See the light of day.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that what was it? It was their first album, like a self-titled album, and it had the girl on the front of it.
The goth girl. I call her the goth girl, but like
it was like a staple of CD collections when I was growing up. Like, you know, every CD book had that Godsmack album, and whether you listened to one song or the entire album, you know, two kinds of people, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that whole album. There was in one of the bands we covered quite a few of those songs off of that album. And I just remember I played guitar in that band and not drums, and I was like, can we just
put everything in drop D and like
they were like drop D, but then like tuned down like 8 more steps or something. Like I just or no, maybe that was Limp Bizkit. I don't remember, but it was Wes Borland. What are you doing to me?
Yeah.
I just I think that the Changes DVD though was it was more of like, it was kind of a documentary / concert, so it was like interspersed with like behind the scenes stuff of like them, and I it was cool, but I'm also like, I really don't care. I just want to see the concert. Like I don't really
concert,
it'd be cool if they had like a behind the scenes separate from this, but just give me the concert.
Right.
I'll watch that. I mean, I'm a big behind the scenes guy, but you know, I know like Metallica tried something with Through the Never where it was like a movie mixed with like a concert. And I was just like, just give me the concert. Like I don't care about Harry Osborn going off and doing this thing with you know.
What was the one with Iron Maiden where like the entire band and the road crew and everything, they all get in like a 747, and the singer like pilots them all the way around the freaking world, and they just like hit a country and like play a gigantic Iron Maiden show, and then load it all back up in a 747 and take off. And then like, I remember I watched it once. I don't remember what the title was, but I always thought that was like, okay, this is like the ultimate rock band. Like their singer pilots a massive, you know, jet and like flies everyone everywhere, you know.
It was like, I think it was from, are you talking about the one from 2009? It was like, I think it was Flight 666.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. It's basically them going around like the world tour, like India, Australia, Japan. Yeah.
Yeah. They literally go like all the way around the whole freaking world. Long before the flat earth thing, right? But like, I always found that like super, super cool because, you know, they're Iron Maiden, of course, but let's just take it up another notch, and we're gonna handle our entire tour ourselves.
I mean, why not? There's a lot of good like movies with bands out there. Movies with I thought I said it the other way around. Dyslexia for the win.
For the win.
But it's hard to find like a good mixed concert, you know. Speaking of Unbroken, I just want to go back to that real quick. Joel says my AVR used to crash on that Unbroken scene. Too much going on with my inefficient speakers. Pushing me to get separates after that.
It is a pretty intense scene. It's one hell of a demo, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's taken me so long to actually be able to get to a point where I can drive 4-ohm speakers. My old receiver before I got this one just would shut down if I hooked up 2 4-ohm speakers. It was just like, nope, not doing it.
Yeah, we run into those issues from time to time.
Yeah.
Most stuff these days will handle 4-ohm pretty easily, but
yeah,
some of the receivers not so much.
Yeah, no, and it's also a weird like thing just running like height channels off a receiver. I mean, it's a cool thing. Like it's definitely like helps. I'm like, oh, okay. With a lot of the newer receivers, they have like auto sensing stuff, so like you don't even have to adjust anything. It just will adapt to whatever. Yeah, it's super cool. Let's see here.
Collin is Tough Guy your band? Is that yours?
We broke up a couple years ago. But yeah, it was that was one hell of a project. That was a lot of fun to be in a part of that group.
That was a metal band?
You know, some people called us metal. We labeled ourselves punk rock, but I guess we had some heavier parts that sounded metal-ish. At the time, I was like kind of a smart-ass drummer, and I would do everything I could to like make double bass sounds without actually using a double bass pedal. It was just
right. Well, hey man, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're playing double bass, then you're not playing ostinatos with your hi-hat. You know, I think it's much cooler. But, Tough Guy was a lot of fun. It's, you know, dear friends of mine, and it was tough to break up, but you know, part of it was just kind of Portland and the music scene, and you know, people change, people move, you know, things like that happens, life happens, and so still keep in touch with all the guys. They're really excellent dudes.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun to be in that band I was in that band for 5 years, I think, or something like that.
Wow.
Pretty long run. Yeah. We got music on Spotify.
Yay.
I'm bringing it up.
I think Barrett gets a royalty check for like, you know, 30 cents every like year or something.
That'll help pay for nothing.
The dream.
Nothing, right? We're in the hole, just having it on there. Like
yeah, it's like, oh, okay, whatever.
So what's your current band then?
No bands at the moment. You know,
all right.
Yeah, I kind of took a step back from the drum kit for a little while. You know, my wife and I just had a baby, and so
oh yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. It's that's like a whole crazy thing. You know, life is just totally different after having children, and I think, you know, years down the line, the drums will probably come back into the house when my son is old enough and hopefully has interest in that, you know. But I got a lot of guitars at home. That's something I'm kind of trying to get myself back into, is actually playing guitar and more just the enjoyment of it, and not like grueling band practices and gigs,
right?
You know, stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely a cool thing, and you know, to be able to jam with, you know, your buddies on the weekends and stuff like that, it's definitely a cool thing. And you know, like I said, the time I had with Tough Guy was definitely very cherished.
Are you secretly recording your solo project like David Grohl in the first Foo Fighters album?
No. Recording was like my least favorite thing to do, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
I tried the whole studio thing for a while and like did not get very far with it.
Yeah.
I was spending more time on my computer than on my drum set. Like there's a problem there, right?
Yeah. Why is it like before you hit record, you can do something perfectly, and then as soon as you hit record and you hear that click track, you're like, all right, well, I already fucked up. So I'm gonna start over.
Especially with the first EP that Tough Guy did. I mean, you know, most of it was like pretty easy punk songs. Our one guitar player, Barrett, definitely had a knack for writing very difficult songs with like 10,000 parts and chord changes and all this stuff. And so, with the easy punk songs, I went into the first session like, yeah, I'm gonna nail this first track. The guy engineering's like, yeah, okay, shut up. So I get in and I play the first track, and I think I would rate myself like a 90% at that point. Like that was the first one of the session, and I'm like, okay, so how'd that sound? And he's like, okay, well, we're gonna do another one just because, but yeah, that one was pretty good. And then, you know, towards the end of the session, I do one of Barrett's tracks, and it was like fall in the hole, fall in the hole, fall in the hole. Like just could not nail it, you know. One of those songs actually I screwed up, and we didn't catch it until we were doing the guitar tracks later on. And it was like, hey dude, there's a verse missing here.
Oh.
So my buddy at the time was able to fix it, and they used his SPD-SX to sample my drums and basically cue in another verse in the recording.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, this guy, like, I worked with him at Guitar Center. He would give me shit like daily that, you know, oh, I'm fixing your drum tracks. Nice job on that. Like, you know, and one of them we did live, and the rest of them were like with a click track. And so, you know, yeah, it's recording such an interesting thing, and it's definitely where you see, you know, the real true musicianship. And like,
yeah,
oh,
you know,
yeah,
Dan, the gentleman that recorded all of Tough Guy stuff, I mean, he's definitely one person in Oregon that's seen me at my absolute worst. But you know, it's fun at the end of it. You know, it's cool. Yeah. But I think recording is, you know, it's interesting. It's almost like measurement software and stuff with home theater. Like the technology is so readily available and so accessible nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, compared to 10, 20 years ago, you know, you'd take out a loan to go into a studio and cut a demo versus like now you can go to Guitar Center and buy 5 things for, you know, a couple $100, and 12 hours, you got an album on Spotify, like rake in the dollars, you know. But it's there's just so much available now that like anybody can do it, right? And so I think, you know, the real difference in those that succeed with recording are those that practice.
Yeah.
Anything. I mean, you're never going to do it overnight. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah. I mean, you know, yeah, you can make an album in GarageBand if you want to, but you know, will it, you know, and I think if, you know, and if that's where you start, it's great. But, you know, eventually, like as you scale up the music business, you know, having an actual like engineer and, you know, someone to actually do like a proper mix and proper master and everything. And, but I mean, again, like, just like, I mean, Elon and I we're kind of, we have a history in film. I went to film school, and it's like, I went to film school from like 2006 to 2010, and like technology has so drastically changed since then. It's like, if someone said, oh, should I go to film school? I'm like, unless you want the networking and that's guaranteed, which it isn't. No, like everything that you can find is on YouTube. Like you can do all of this stuff. In fact, save your money, buy a nice camera, buy some nice lighting, like watch a bunch of tutorials, and like you'll get there before, like go shoot like 5 movies before, you know, and like there's your film school. You just figured it all out.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, it, you know, going back to the home theater stuff, it's so much more accessible than it was when I got into the hobby when I was 15. You know, I didn't know anything back then about like, you know, SPL or what this, I just like, oh, subwoofer, max volume. You know, but I learned quickly, I'm like, okay, like it sounds loud, but like it doesn't sound good. Like it's just loud. And so over the years I've kind of, it's a slippery slope, man, as I'm sure people watching know. It's just, you can go down that road. It's kind of like, you know, I can listen to Periphery and be like, okay, yeah, this is all very nice, but I'm like, I don't understand what they're doing half of the time. Like there's so much going on here to try to wrap my head around how you write something like that. I'm just like, I you know, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure I could figure it out if I actually spent time and studied it, but you know, it's like the same with, I feel like like home theater stuff, like it's a lot more easy. But then again, you can get in the weeds and you can be like, when you start working with time domain and all of this, like, oh, what's the RT60? If it's like, oh, show me your waterfall graph. I'm like, is that a euphemism? Like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Yeah, there's just, what I like though is like, there's with anything, right? With any hobby, there's many different levels that you can be at, and there's no like wrong level to be at. We're all at different paths. We're all at different experiences, and I think like being able to have a platform like YouTube, like to be able to share that knowledge and experience with people is like invaluable. You know, and I don't know everything. Elon knows everything that I don't know, so he knows way more than me. But no, I'm just kidding. Elon knows nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
Zero.
This is
No, it's just that I have fun learning about stuff that I'm like super passionate about and interested in, and it's like, okay, how do I make something sound better, or how do I do this? And it's like, there's got to be a way. You know, I'm always that kind of guy that's like, I want to do everything myself and figure it out and try to get the most out of like what I have, regardless of how much it costs. Right? Doesn't matter if it costs $150 or, you know, $1,500. It's like, well, if I learn on the $150 thing, that I could take those principles and apply it to the more expensive thing and get the most out of that. So it's just, you know, just figuring out like what you like. And
I say it all the time, you know, knowledge is power, and power has ohms and stuff.
Exactly. Yes.
But for real, yeah, it's, you know, with the wealth of information out there, it's like really you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know, it's just how much energy you want to put into something.
Exactly. And how many ohms you have.
And you got to have all of the ohms.
You have all the ohms. That is something that I mistakenly said. I said something about ohms in a video, and people were very quick to point out how wrong I was.
It's impedance.
And I was like, okay, let me go back to the, and I like owned up to it. I was like, yeah, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I should have kept that part out, but I'm going to leave it in, and you guys learn from my mistakes. And that kind of, you know, it made me realize like, oh yeah, I could say something wrong and people will take that and like that misinformation and think that that's how it is. And I don't want to give people the wrong information.
Right. But like you said, we all got to start somewhere, and we all learn. I mean, we're all human beings.
Yeah. And I'm just a lone person making videos on the internet, you know, like on stuff that I like, and I don't know everything.
That's all right.
So
it's probably better if we don't know everything, right?
It is, because I think if we did, well, I mean, my head's already big, and I think it's getting like starting to look like Jeff Bezos in that South Park episode where he's got like a.
You owned up to it.
Oh my god! Have you guys seen that like meme of the cat like hitting the other cat on the head? Like, yeah. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, guys. We're kind of at our 2-hour mark, or a little shy of it. Do you guys have anything? Like, we could wrap it up here. Quickly, if anybody watching has any questions, feel free to ask away. We'll try to get them answered in a little rapid fire round.
Also happy too if, you know, people want to come to us directly. You know, our phone number. That's one thing I love telling customers and potential customers is that if you call Aperion Audio, you're going to get an actual human on the phone. Sometimes it's even me. And you know, it's one of those things when you get into frustrating call, you know, automated things, you wait on hold and stuff like that. And sometimes, you know, we don't answer, and we actually call back on voicemails. So leave us a voicemail. We also respond to emails too. It's a cool thing. Seriously, you know, we love chatting through systems. We love talking shop with customers. You know, I encourage people. I mean, I get people all the time that, you know, give me a list of gear and say, what super tweeter do I get? You know, and it's like, well, let's talk about what you listen to. You know, what do you like? You know, what do you not like? You know?
Yeah.
And like I said, we're very customer service oriented and focused. And, you know, if you if you enjoy what you do, it's easy to talk about things and be a cool human, right?
Absolutely, for sure. I had a recent thing where I had to call a hotel I was going to stay at, and talk about like just testing your patience. With the
Yeah,
amount of automated bullshit you have to sit through to try to get to an actual, like, I just want to talk to someone at the front desk. That's
it's
all I
eternal.
want to do.
Yeah,
And it took me like 15 minutes to finally get to them.
yeah. I
And
get approached by companies for, automated customer service and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
like, all the time, and I'm like, oh God, no! I wouldn't. No, why would I do
Yeah.
that?
no
That's
thanks.
terrible.
No thanks.
No,
That's honestly, like, having like a good customer service experience and having like working with a company or buying from a company that will stand behind their product, like that's like worth its weight in gold
yeah,
these days. And a lot of companies, I mean, we see it in every industry, but like many companies, they kind of give you the runaround where they won't want to honor the warranty for whatever reason, or blah blah blah. And
yeah,
we've all been there, and we've all heard horror stories, and some of it kind of makes a big stink, and others don't. But yeah, to have like be able to speak to an actual human. I mean, how many guys do you or how many people do you employ? Like, do you have on staff, if you don't mind me asking?
we got a small crew of customer service team that handles inquiries and things like that.
Yeah.
A lot of our team works remotely, just through the pandemic and all the changes that happened with business throughout that. But yeah, like I said, it's a nice tight group of individuals that we're just here to help people, and like I say, answer the phone usually the first time. Sometimes
I mean, so if I call at 3 a.m. no,
not happening. We're gonna ignore your call.
Yeah, please do not call at 3 a.m. Well, thank you, Collin, for agreeing to do this. I'm glad you came to hang out and chat, and I hope you had a good time.
This was awesome. I really like chatting with you guys, and thank you to all the viewers for hanging out as well. Hope to maybe speak to some of you at some point or another.
Do it.
Do it.
Call him right now. No. I mean, this was a lot of fun. Obviously, I'm shilling for the company at this point.
Repping the brand.
No, I've worked with you guys over the past couple years, and it's been super awesome. And you guys have been super awesome to work with as a content creator.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just hard to build a relationship with somebody personally at a company, but also just like being able to just kind of hop on I think anytime we've hopped on a call to catch up, Collin, we ended up talking for like an hour and a half.
We kind of do that.
And
drummers, I tell you,
drummers, I know. If we ever meet in person, people we keep us separated because
our wives will probably leave us, is what's probably.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Can we go now?
Yeah, can we please go? You guys have talked about the same thing for this past 10 hours. No, we haven't though. Let me tell you. But yeah, again, like, it's just been a super awesome time having you on here, and who knows, we'll have you on here again one day if you're up for it, and
definitely
chat about more stuff. And I know you guys are coming out with some new amps. The new, I think you mentioned it.
New high powers,
crazy. You got some new speakers as well, right? It's a couple of the new higher, like the more 2-channel hi-fi centric.
Yeah, our grandest line. Yeah, they're pretty stellar speakers, and like you say, dedicated 2-channel. We're not necessarily doing a center channel or surrounds, but just straight up bookshelves and towers, and amazing bass response and amazing high frequency as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and they have some really cool finishes, right? Like they're
finishes are to die for. It's like a gloss opal, rosewood, and then a blue color that they are right there. Yeah, the rosewood is pretty gorgeous.
Wow.
Wow.
I like that. That looks super cool.
Yep. I'll take
12 of them.
And then towers, I think, are probably within the next year or so. We'll have tower offerings for both 6-inch and 8-inch.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Well, Elon, do you have any closing comments?
Yeah, well, thanks, Colin, for joining us, of course. I mean, obviously, I would be somewhere in my YouTube journey had I not gotten in contact with, or had Dallas and Colin not reached out to me when I was only, a couple thousand subscribers.
A little channel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, because so I owe a lot of my progression into home theater and having other companies take me more seriously after having reviewed Aperion audio stuff.
Hell yeah.
So I will always be forever in Aperion Audio's debt to some degree. So I'm very appreciative of their generosity.
Oh yeah. Well, cool people and cool speakers, they go together, right?
Yeah.
And likewise, I mean, you guys, I don't even remember how big my channel was at the time when you guys reached out, but yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for you,
it's cool to see channels blow up too.
Yeah. I mean, I'll end this with my little comment. I just want to thank everybody watching on both Elon and my channel. I actually recently hit 20,000 subscribers.
Nice.
Which is a pretty big milestone. I never thought I'd hit 1,000, let alone 20.
Yeah.
And here I am, and I'm finally back to making content on my channel. Again, I currently have 6 videos in my edit bay or in my editing program that I need to cut together and release. So I'm pushing for 2 a week. And we got Theatrus unboxings and overviews and the really kick-ass speaker stands that are a lot heavier than I thought they'd be. Man, they are heavy duty.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a bunch of other stuff too. And updated calibration tutorials. They're coming. Cool. So, and yeah,
education and product review and good stuff, man.
Yeah, all good stuff. And
great.
And a lot of Aperion stuff coming. I mean, content wise. So should be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I know I'm enjoying it. I hope you guys will too. Well, we're gonna end it there, guys. Thank you again for watching and joining and hanging out. And if you're watching this afterwards, sorry if you asked a question and we didn't answer it. And also for those out there in podcast land listening on Spotify or Apple Music or Apple Podcast or whatever, we appreciate your support just by listening. Elon, do you see how many downloads we have per month or how many listens we get per month?
Yeah.
Cool. So he knows. I don't. But do you have an average for us, or is that too much?
Here, let me look.
He's crunching the numbers.
Yeah. Podcasts. Well, I can say that from when we started, we're almost at the milestone of 1,000 downloads.
Nice.
Total or per month?
We're at total. We're at 899.
Nice.
Thank you close, man. Yeah, we're almost there. In the last 7 days, we've had 31 downloads. This past 30 days, 122.
Nice.
So
awesome. Good work, boys.
We're getting there. We're not giving up. We're not giving up. We don't. But all right, guys. Well, we will catch you next week on our usual schedule time. And thank you again for watching. And we will catch you later.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to get notifications. If you don't, that's okay. But if you want to be in the cool club, you better do it. And